Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another knowledge bomb dropping episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Michele Molitor. Michele is founder and CEO of Nectar Consulting and co-author of the best-selling book, Breakthrough Healing. She is an expert in enhancing the capabilities of leaders to build high-performing teams and exponentially increase bottom-line results. On today's podcast, Michele shared tips, tools, and practical steps on how to master your mindset. Please help me welcome Michele with Transformational Mindset. Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
I'm the founder and CEO of Nectar Consulting. I have been a professional coach now rolling up on my 20th anniversary here in a few months. I'm an executive confidence coach and rapid rewire expert. I help folks literally rewire their limiting beliefs that are no longer serving them at a subconscious level. Get in and build some new neural pathways in your brain. I'm kind of super geeky about neuroscience, Cedric, which is really fun. And I'm also a leadership development coach and trainer and facilitator. So really helping individuals and organizations to create greater emotional, social, and leadership well-being from the inside out.
How did you get there? How did you get into that? How did that start? Did that start early on in your childhood, or where did that begin?
I kind of literally stumbled my way into it, in sort of, but kind of, but not really. So in college, I was going to be a veterinarian until I got to chemistry. Chemistry and I were like, no, we don't get along so well. So then I changed my major to psychology because I love how human beings tick and work and think. But when it came time, just about a semester or two before I was going to graduate, I flipped out thinking I can't get a job with a degree in psychology. So I changed my major to advertising.
Oh, wow.
Because there's like psychology and advertising, and I have this kind of creative thing. And so, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I graduated. I have a degree in advertising with a minor in psychology, and I have all this stuff in there, right? Fast forward the tape. I figure out I can draw, become a graphic designer, a creative director, which leads me to web development, which moved me here to San Francisco, to the San Francisco Bay Area, to work for a hot.com startup, right? We were going to IPO the week I started. I had a golden ticket. I was sure I was going to be a millionaire, except the market crashed that week instead. Oh, no. I was like, oh, darn, Margie. So, but I kept toiling along and building out the team that I was hired to lead. Within that year, I essentially got bullied out of my job by somebody I had hired. Wow. That was really not fun. And it really devastated my confidence, Cedric. It just kind of shattered my ego, and I really had no idea what to do. So I discovered this new thing called coaching to help me sort out what was next for me. And in the process of being coached, I realized this is the work that my soul is calling me to do. So I changed careers. I got trained and certified as a coach and started Nectar Consulting in 2001. It was a strange and circuitous route that led me to this work that I do. And over the past 20 years, I've been a real seeker, always stuffing my brain. I have probably thousands of books here in my house, all on personal and professional development and leadership and human dynamics and organizational development. And I discovered 5 or 6 years ago this modality called rapid transformational therapy, or RTT. And it's a really unique blend of modalities that encompasses the best aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy.
Oh, wow.
And it had such a profound impact on me in such a very short period of time. I went on to get trained and certified in RTT as well. And I've combined it into my work in a unique way that I call rapid rewiring. So it's been a very interesting journey that has led me to where I am today, but my work is so rewarding. And I'm able to work not only one-on-one with individuals to do really deep dive work into their subconscious and eliminate things in a very short order, like 90 days, to bringing some of those same tools and skills into the corporate realm and working with executives and whole teams to create better personal development that leads to greater professional development, social well-being, greater inclusion and diversity and understanding so that people can be the best leaders that they can be.
Wow. You have an extremely unique ability. I mean, you're talking about all these different things. I hear this all the time, how adversity leads us to purpose. I want to talk a little bit about that adversity because we're all in the need of a mindset shift right now, mindset reset, rewired because of all the things we dealt with. I mean, COVID has been it's been really bad on our minds and our psychological aspect. Your experience before you learned all this information, I mean, you was able through that adversity, you was able to come out of it. And you mentioned doing coaching. What exactly happened in that season of your life mentally?
When I got released from my fancy six-figure corporate job, yeah, it was shattering. Literally, I was a deer in the headlights, and I honestly didn't know what to do, Cedric. And the thought of handing my resume to anyone was terrifying. It was terrifying to me. And I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Like my mom, my dad, my brother and sister all worked in the family businesses. And I left screaming from the building, right, to get as far away as I could from the family business. Not that I don't love my family, and I didn't want to be under everybody's thumbs. So I thought, well, I'll just start my own business. Sure. I have no idea what that actually means, but I will do it and I will figure it out. And if nothing, I am tenacious, Cedric. And so I have figured it out time and time again, sometimes stumbling my way through the dark. And I've had a lot of coaches and advisors all along the way in different ways, shapes, and forms to help me, get out of my own way, clean the junk out of my own trunk, and rebuild my own confidence. That's why I'm so passionate about helping others with their confidence, because I know what it feels like to have it just decimated and trying to figure out, well, where did it go? Because I always was so curious, like, why is my brother so infinitely confident and I wasn't growing up? And we grew up in the same household with the same parents, loving family, no traumas to speak of, but it just was what it was. So I've just really been a seeker and a researcher of what makes someone confident versus not, and how do you regain that and rebuild that. And it all comes back to the beliefs that we took on as kids. What were the moments in time where we made a split decision about ourselves of, oh, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not deserving of fill in the blank. And that's why I love this work that I do, because it literally helps me get at the root causes. And my clients are then able to connect the dots between these seemingly disparate events that happened in their lives at different points, where they made decisions about themselves and their mindsets that then became the driving force behind everything that they did in order to stay safe. Right. Because that's what our brains do. Your limbic system, your amygdala, I like to call her Amy. Amy is your amygdala, which is your fight, flight, or freeze mechanism in your brain. And this part of you just wants to keep you safe from harm. Right. And so Amy makes these decisions along the way. No, don't do that. Don't touch the stove. It's hot. You'll get burnt. Right. Don't speak out of turn because somebody will yell at you. Don't. So we end up shielding ourselves with all these beliefs. And then we move out into the world and grow up and become adults. And we've got all these deeply embedded beliefs that we don't even necessarily know are there. Jeez. That are guiding us to make the choices that we make, that end up with poor relationship choices, poor job choices, poor financial choices, because of the fears that are actually running our behaviors.
We look at situations like, say, if it's a flower, we see the flowers, we see the flower blooming, but it's a lot of things going on underneath the ground. you use an analogy of the flower blooming. That's something like, someone would say, oh, my dad wasn't around, or I was born from a single household. I mean, those things just surface situations, because I know somebody can tell you something, say, oh, you'll never be nothing. But it's one thing for somebody to tell you something, another thing for you to tell yourself. I want you to dig into that a little bit and really kind of go above that ground surface and things that, because we're aware of what we can see, but just talking about some of those things we can't see that we're not aware of. I want you to dig under that ground a little bit. I just want to dig at some soil.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great analogy. I'm going to borrow that because, nectar is all about the bee going around to the flower and extracting that honey so that flower can be all of who it can be.
That's amazing.
Literally, it came to me in a dream one day, but that's another conversation.
Awesome.
And so let's see. So I always say to folks, the environment that we grew up in, with the parents that we were given, the siblings we were given, the caregivers we were given, the place that we lived, the way that we lived, all of that includes the environment that we grew up in. It's the water that we swim in, right? And it is what it is. And that's all that we know as children. We don't have the ability at that age. Our brains aren't developed enough to be able to discern, why does little Johnny, who lives across town, why does his life look different than mine? Well, he's swimming in a different soup.
Wow.
Right. And it's that environment that we grow up in that has such a massive influence on how we show up. So, and some folks, if they've been raised in really difficult or challenging or horrible circumstances, right, oftentimes it's that greatest source of pain becomes your greatest source of power. It instills in you the will to go do something better, stronger, bigger, get out of that place, that situation. Or conversely, it ingrains in us, oh, I'll never be anything. I can't do it. I'm not worthy of success. I'm not deserving of love. I'm not enough, because that's what my family told me. That's what I learned in this environment, because that's probably what their parents believed or their caregivers believed, or what someone told them. It might have been a teacher. It might have been a friend. It might have been cousin or a relative. Oh, you're not good enough. You can't do that, right? Who do you think you are? And that stuff sticks, right? Our brains are like sponges at young ages. And so we take in that information, and then we make these choices about ourselves. Well, my dad said that I was a piece of crap, so why should I amount to anything, right? And it weighs your heart down until somebody else comes into your life and looks you in the eye and goes, Cedric, you were the most amazing human being. Thank you for sharing your gifts and your light with us. And when you do that, when you really take the moment to see somebody heart to heart, they open up like flowers into the sunshine, because that being seen feeds our souls, Cedric. It really does. And so what I found is that one of the things that makes a huge difference in how someone shows up in the world and believes in their self is how much of that nurturing sunshine, that love and being seen and honored just as you are and just as you aren't as a child, makes all the difference in the world, all the difference.
Wow, you said something. I want you to deal with this, and I want you to speak. Most of the leaders, we have children, we have families in our homes, and I just want you to speak to that, because I think that's very important. That was some things happened in my childhood that it took years, a little small segment of my childhood. I'm in my 40s, and I'm still dealing and suffering from things that happened in childhood and steady taking these layers off. I want you to speak to that parent. Let's talk about some of the don'ts. The don'ts are things that parents should stay away from when you're raising your children.
Sure. Well, as parents know, you have to set boundaries for your children, right? Because they will push you and push you and push you until, they get to where they want to go, unless you go, nope, no, right? But there's a way of saying no with grace and with love versus a more harsh way that actually impacts your children at a heart level, right? It's about giving them choices. I'll never forget this was many, many years ago. My niece, Amanda Michelle, was about 4 and she was about to have a hissy fit. And a sister-in-law took her by the shoulders and looked her in the eye. And she's like, do we need to go outside? And she's like, no, ma'am. Right. And just like, you give them a choice. You can have a hissy fit, or there's consequences to go with that. And so I would say to all the leaders who are listening, who happen to be parents, that it's really important to mind your words and mind your language that you use with your children, because they all have an impact, right? Speak to your children how you would like to be spoken to. They may be children, but they are wise beyond our years. The words that you say matter, and they stick, and they will have a lasting impact. So you can look back and think about perhaps how you've spoken to your children, how you've treated them, how you've aligned your words with your actions. Because if there's an incongruency there, right? Oh yeah, we'll go do that. But then that never shows up. Then your children start to learn, oh, he may say this, but then this never happens. Parenting is challenging. The impact that those do's and don'ts that you have with your children do create a lasting impact on our entire lifetimes. I'm 55 and I'm still pulling stuff apart from my childhood. So, we're all in the mix together on this, Cedric. Nobody gets out unscathed.
So we both just admitted on the Lead to Greatness podcast that we are study from our childhood. We're study pulling things out. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because our minds, that's the greatest asset we have. And for our mind to be programmed and corrupt with all these things, with fear, with doubt, with anxiety, with low self-esteem, how can we become a master of our own mindset?
That is being a work in progress, right? Because we're never done. There's always another layer and another layer and another layer to remove. I've been a learning development junkie for 20 plus years now, my friend. And there's always something new to discover about yourself, which is a beautiful thing, right? And it's all about, how do you find more peace and presence in each moment, right? Because our brains really much like to spin off into the future or spin back into the past. What if, I shoulda, I coulda, woulda, right? Or I'm fearful of what might happen. What if in that direction? So learning how to master your mindset is about learning how to be present, to be grateful for what you have in each and every moment, and are looking for the lessons and all of the challenges that come your way, because there's always something to learn, right? I believe your soul is always trying to get to point you in that direction of your most authentic self, your highest self. And sometimes, it throws you a curveball. You sure you don't want to look at that over there? Nope, because that'll take me off track. And sometimes we have to go off track to figure out, oh, that's not the track I'm supposed to be on, right? I felt like, for me, my whole career as a graphic designer and creative director, that was a beautiful part of me, and I'm still an artist. And that pivotal moment for me was, I felt like my spirit going, no, not that, look over here. There's something more for you to be doing. And it wasn't about building websites, right? Finding the thing that gives you purpose and passion, that enables you to shine brightly and light you up when you talk about it, and you're excited to get out of bed to do that every day. That, steps along that path to mastering your mindset and being more happy and fulfilled, so that you can continue to let go of the junk in your trunk that you no longer need because you thought you needed it when you were 5.
Wow. Michele, what advice could you give us today? Something we can implement right now to head into this direction?
Sure. Probably one of the most profound things that I learned, Cedric, was that I had an internal conversation going on that said, I'm not enough. Wow. I'm not really good enough. Despite all of the work that I'd done and everything that I'd read and so on. And so I would ask all of your listeners to do a gut check. And do you have some limiting belief? I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I don't fit in. I'm not worthy. And notice, what's that internal dialogue that you're carrying around for yourself? And ask yourself, does that really serve me? Because if it doesn't, then you get to flip it on its head and tell yourself the exact opposite. I am enough. I am worthy. I am deserving. I do belong, right? Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, because your brain likes repetition, right? So the more you tell yourself, the more you think a thought, the more true it becomes for you, and the more you hardwire those neural pathways. Wow. And literally, I would drive around the Bay Area going to, meetings and stuff and have this little song, I am enough, I'm enough, I'm enough, enough, right? Until one day I woke up, I was like, yeah, I am. And I had decided a long time ago that I wasn't. And I just had to rewire my own thinking. And it created a really powerful ripple effect in my life. And I know it can create that same powerful ripple effect in all of your listeners' lives.
Wow, that is awesome, and that's one of the things I love to read, and all the books I read of all the successful people. I mean, every last one of them. Everyone had they set of adversity and things that happen in their lives, and affirmation is something I constantly hear repetitively. Affirmation, positive affirmations into your life, and you just said it and confirmed that is something that really gets the mind rewired, and just really in a different way. And I love that. And I heard things about this, saying it and writing it. Do you think saying it is more important, writing it is more important, or what's your thought on it? Distinguish the two.
We're all different types of learners, right? We all process information differently. So some people are more kinesthetic, some are more visual, some are more auditory. One of the things that I do for my clients is I actually create what I call a transformation recording for them, right? That has these new empowering beliefs. I am enough. I am worthy. I believe in myself. I love myself. I put binaural music to it, and they listen to it every night as they go to sleep for 30 days, right? Because it's dropping in at a subconscious level. Your brain's always listening, right? Even if you're falling asleep, your brain's always on and listening. So that repetition of listening to it, right, that creates that new neural pathway. Then they're saying it to themselves as they go through their day. I have them write it on their mirror, put it on their phone, put sticky notes around their house, right? Write it in their journal about their gratitudes each day. So it's all of those ways and so much more, right? Because you want to get it in there in each way you can. It doesn't matter, whatever works best for you. But all roads lead to Rome.
That is a knowledge bomb.
Love that. Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah, so that's definitely a
dropped a knowledge bomb today.
There you go. I love it. I love
it's
it.
like a mic drop, but a little different.
Right. Michele, you're awesome. You're awesome. And I'm really excited. I mean, for what you're doing. I mean, you're making a huge difference and a big dent in the world of I am not enough. And I really love this. From what you said, I just wrote a note down. I said, turn your pain into power, because I'm thinking about this. I mean, there's been some times in my life, there's been some pain. And typically I want to stay away from the pain, but it's like, no, don't stay away from it. Use it. You empower yourself and then you add power to others. And I'm listening to you right now, and it's just, I mean, my brain wiring is going crazy right now.
I can see all the wheels turning in there.
You, it is. This is exciting. I mean, this is something, I mean, even for a message for me to continue to share, because it's so easy. Your brain want to take you away from. It's like, go to it so it won't defeat you, so it won't imprison you. And you can not only open up light and free yourself, but you're freeing others as well. This is so
totally. I mean, what happened to me in my corporate job, Cedric, was so painful. And I had such shame and guilt about it. Like, I had screwed up. I was a horrible person. And I walked around like this for quite a while. And it wasn't until, as a coach, and this took me years to get to this place, to be able to say, yep, I got fired. And to say that out loud was like, it was super healing, because it over time, the more I said it, the more I shared my story, the more it neutralized the emotional charge around it and took that off the table. Right. So much so that the boss that fired me came back around 10 years later and hired me as his coach. I was like, that's all right. That'll work.
I love it. 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 This is so awesome. This is so awesome. Man, this is, oh man, this is so amazing. I could keep
I
going
get you
on.
all Twitter pated. I love it.
I mean, I'm telling you, this is so, it's so awesome because, I mean, you're talking about even that situation, that moment when you got fired, you turn that pain into purpose. And man, I just want to listen, lead to greatness. Don't miss this. Don't miss this. I mean, you may be dealing with pain in your life right now. You may be going through something right now, but don't ignore it. Confront it. Call it out. She said she was freed when she said, I got fired. So if you got fired from a job, just say it. I got fired. If somebody cheated on you in a relationship, just say, oh, they cheated on me. They rejected me. Say it. Speak it out so it won't have power over you. Michele, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. I'm telling you, I'm so fired up right now. I'm almost starting to sweat because
I love it.
I am so fired
I
up. This
made
is
him
awesome.
sweat in all the best ways. Oh,
Yes,
that might sound bad, but you know what I mean.
Michele, what is the biggest shift you made as a CEO in the past year?
Oh gosh. So last year on my COVID holiday,
Yeah.
one of my big consulting contracts with the San Francisco International Airport got put on hold for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
What are we going to do right now? Right. And so as it happens often, I got a download. I get these, messages and insights that come down through my intuition in those moments of presence and quiet, and was very firmly directed to create a new employee well-being program for organizations that really, based on everything that happened last year with George Floyd and the pandemic and all of the suffering that was happening, I really felt a strong need to create a set of programs for organizations that gave them the tools, because I had some clients who were HR directors whose heads were on fire and popping off because of everything that they were having to do, but not having all of the skills and abilities to support their employees, right? The overwhelming need. So I collected an amazing team of consultants from across the country that have deep expertise in mindfulness and racial healing and leadership and women's leadership. And we have these customized programs now that we bring forward to organizations to help individuals with emotional well-being to create greater presence and emotional intelligence for themselves.
Awesome.
We have programs that speak directly to social well-being. How do you create greater inclusion and racial healing inside of your organization? And then how do you then take all of that and have greater leadership well-being so that your leaders are shining more fully and in being more inclusive in how they're doing that, who they're being, how they're showing up, in the language that they're using, so that the whole organization can thrive and really create a more joyful place for people to show up and be at work, whether they're in person or virtually.
And everything you said so far is it's just awesome. Just awesome.
Thank you.
What are some practical leadership growth tips, tools, advice that you can share with the Lead to Greatness community to help us reach our greatest potential?
One of the most potent things that I learned last year, and I was schooled by a dear friend who is an amazing African-American woman and an amazing leader and consultant. And she really opened my eyes to the things that I didn't know as a white woman. So I reached out and have found a myriad of resources to help educate myself on what is white fragility, what are all the finer nuances of all the racial injustices that have been happening in our country for hundreds of years, so that I can be a better ally. I can more helpful and not put my foot in my mouth, right? And to not add to the problem, but to be a part of the solution. And I have just scraped the surface with that, and I recognize that, which is why I brought together these amazing consultants for my team. So for everyone listening, no matter what the color of your skin is, but to take time to learn about your brothers and sisters, right? That we share this planet with and that we share this country with, to learn more about the different perspectives that they have and where they're coming from, so that you can bring greater compassion to the work that you do, will have a much stronger and long-lasting impact on the people that you work with.
Again, awesome.
That makes such a huge difference. Many years ago, Cedric, I was part of a small team of coaches that went into San Quentin prison to teach them coaching skills.
Wow.
And I'll never forget Laura Whitworth, the founder of CTI, the Coaches Training Institute. She would say to us, she's like, remember, they just don't know what they don't know. Because of the soup that they swam in as kids, right? And it was just this perspective that they had that created the circumstances and the results that got them to where they were inside of prison, right? And so our job was to bring that curiosity, the questions, to help understand their perspective and to help them see a different perspective that might just turn a light bulb on and help them see, wow, there's a different way that I can choose to live my life. And that made all the difference for some of those people. So that applies to everyone. You don't have to be in San Quentin to learn how to have more compassion and understanding for other people.
Oh man, this is awesome. I'm telling you, we can talk for hours because I have plenty of questions, and I'm just, if someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
There's plenty of places you can find me. So you can go over here to nectarconsulting.com and you can read all about the corporate programs that me and my team have to offer. Or you can go over here to michelemolitor.com and you can learn all about the one-on-one rapid rewiring work that I do with folks. There are different sides of my brain and they're super fun in different ways. And of course, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, right? I have a great community on Facebook called Rewire for Success. We've got a wonderful community there of folks who are all about rewiring their brains in different ways, shapes, and forms. So I've got blogs, articles on both my websites.
Okay.
And I have a new ebook out called Do You Have Imposter Syndrome? 6 triggers that can crush your confidence. So if you go over to michelemolitor.com, there's a pop-up there and you can download it for free. Come on over, join the conversation. The water's just fine. And if folks would like to talk with me further about any things we've talked about today, you can always go to either spot and book time on my calendar for a complimentary discovery call, and we'll see what there is to see and how I might be of service.
Awesome. Knowledge bombs.
Boom. Like that.
Yes. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us.
Thank you, Cedric. It's been my honor and my joy to be here with you, and just to see you all lit up just makes my whole day. So it's all good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And if this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.